Welcome back to Yvonne Winifred, my beautiful fashionistas. Today we are making a mix and match fabric dress. This is an Ankara mix and match fabrics that I'm going to be using. I've already cut my pieces out. By the way, guys, if you've watched this video before, this is a re-upload. There was an issue with YouTube copyright music, so I had to re-upload it again, hence this upload now that you are watching. But anyways, it is a valuable video, so we are doing it again. So my top pieces are two. I've already cut them, as I've said before. I have the front and back. The front has 1 inch larger than the front. The back has 1 inch larger than the front, I beg your pardon, because the zipper is at the back. So here we have 1 inch at the back. I have my two pieces already together. So starting off, the upper pieces, I have about 8 inches. I've already marked the starting line. So from that starting line, I want my upper piece to be 8 inches. The top piece, it's kind of the yoke part of this dress. I want it to be 8 inches after all this sewing. So starting from the center front, I'm marking 3 inches, which is the neckline width for both front and back, and also 3 inches for neckline depth for both front and back. I want the back to be a little bit deeper, so hence the 3 inches. So all together again, I have a curved neckline. So this is what you see, like that. So now, guys, from there, I'm going to mark half of the shoulder measurement or across back. And in this case, I'm marking 7.5 inches, but I'm adding half an inch to mark at 8 inches because I'll be adding sleeves. So from that 8 inches, I'm going down to mark 1 inch so that I connect a shoulder slant from that 1 inch towards the neckline width. So that is the shoulder slant. So on top of that shoulder slant, I'm adding half an inch or half an inch line as the joining allowance, like that. So that is the joining allowance along the shoulder slant. So guys, from here where the shoulder slant stops, I'm going down by half of the armhole measurement. In this case, I have 7.5 inches. And whatever I have at the shoulder measurement, I have to duplicate to form that chest line. So I have to connect these two lines like that, or 2 points like that, to form this armhole line. Remember, it is 7.5 inches from the shoulder slant. I'm getting its midpoint there where I've marked. And guys, also let me just mark a quarter of the bust measurement in this case, like that, plus the sewing allowance. It is 9 inches plus 1 inch sewing allowance, so I've marked 10 inches there. So now I'm going to connect, but before connecting the armhole curve, I've moved in at the midpoint that I marked earlier by half an inch to mark a perfect front armhole curve, just as you see. So it connects to the top here where the shoulder line is. So now for the back armhole curve, I'm going to connect at the midpoint. At the midpoint, guys, I think you're seeing what I'm doing, into the sides, and also complete it with the with the line that we marked first. So now I'm cutting simply with the back markings first, like that, then separate my two pieces, the front and back, and cut out the front armhole curve also, like that. So that is what I have for the first part, which is the kind of the yoke part. So now for these pieces also, remember we already cut. So remember I told you I want the first part, which is the yoke, to be 8 inches after all the sewing. So here also I have to mark first the joining allowance of the yoke to this middle part. And I'm going to place my tape measure at 8 inches. That is where this part is going to start, and continue and mark the waistline at 16-inch mark. Then add about 8 inches to mark the hip line at the 24-inch mark. Then guys, for this one I just added about 6 inches, and that is optional. And also after those 6 inches, 6 or 5 inches, you have to add this joining allowance of this middle part to the other finishing part, the downer part. So I want the entire dress to end at about 41 inches, and I also added the hemming allowance. So the dress has 3 parts: the yoke, the middle part, and then the finishing part. So now guys, I'm just going to continue with whatever measurement I have as the bust measurement at the top there. Remember, we didn't add that allowance along the bust because the dart will not go up to there. So now also for the waistline, or along the waistline, I'm marking a quarter of the waist measurement plus 1 inch, which is the dart allowance, and also plus 1 inch, which is the sewing allowance. I'm not going to be using any lining pieces. So even at the hip line, I'm doing the same, a quarter of the hip measurement plus 1 inch for the sewing allowance. The dart will not be coming up to the hip line, so I don't consider the dart allowance along the hip line. It is only considered along the waistline in this case of such a dress. So guys, after that, whatever I have along the hip line, whatever measurement I used at the hip line, I'm just going to reduce it by 1.5 inches and mark at the hemline of this dress, and then join from the hemline to the hip line and also to the waistline like that. So this is what I do now. So don't forget your joining allowances of the 3 dress parts. So after that, from the hip line also, I'm joining to the waistline. Sorry, the chalk is a little bit faint, but I think you're understanding whatever I'm doing here. So now I can align my pieces together. Remember, we are cutting both front and back together. And now I cut out the shape that I want, like that. So this is what I have from the bottom piece to the middle one into the yoke. So guys, this is the back part. I'm sorry my camera stopped recording at some point, but let me explain what I did at the back. So I came here where the waistline is. Along the waistline at the back, I marked 1/2 inch from the center back towards the waistline, and I connected from that 1/2 inch to the downer or the hip line, and also into the neckline depth, the back neckline depth. So I reduced the waistline by 1/2 inch so that will remove the zipper bulge. So also for the sleeves, guys, the sleeves, this is what I have. I folded a piece of fabric according to the half of the armhole measurement. Remember, we used 7.5 inches, and I added allowances. The sleeve length, I want to use 12 inches plus 1 inch. So here I have 13 inches on fold or folded again, so that I cut out 2 sleeves. So I'm marking 4 inches, which is the cap's height for this sleeve that I'm working with. Then I'm marking the 7.5 inches, which is half of the armhole measurement that we used. Remember, this is on fold. The remaining is I added just the sewing allowance. Then I'm connecting a diagonal line, as you see, and I'm getting the midpoint of this diagonal line like this and mark it. At that midpoint, I'm going up by half an inch so that I mark or I carve out the back curve. This is for the back, as you see. Then from here, from the apex, I'm going to connect a curve towards where the midpoint is, at the midpoint, guys, at the midpoint. And from that midpoint, I'm also again carving out to the sides like that for the front armhole curve along at this sleeve. So I've marked also the round measurement where at the hemline of the sleeve. It is 6 inches plus 1 inch joining allowance, which is 7 inches, then connected like that. And now I'm cutting. So I'm going to cut the back curve first, as you're seeing, like this, and separate the two sleeves. Now these are our two sleeves. I'm going to open them up, right sides facing each other, aligning them right sides facing each other. And on one side of each sleeve, guys, as you're seeing, I'm going to cut out the front curve like this, just on one side. So that is what we have. So this is the side which is for the front, and this other side is for the back. That is the sleeve that I used. You can use any sleeves that you want. So for the sleeve hemline, I'll just fold by half an inch, double fold, then run a straight stitch for both sleeves, and that will be all ready to be connected to the main dress. To sew in the darts, guys, the front dart will start 1 inch below the bust line and end 2 inches above the hip line on either sides of the front piece, left and right side of the front piece. After, I'll join the yoke like this, connect it like this, right, and join by half an inch along the wrong side, and also connect the bottom piece onto the middle piece like that for the front. So I will finish the neckline by just using a bias step because I don't have linings for this dress. So that is what I will do. You can do any method that you want to do. So guys, at this point, I've already joined the front with the back along the shoulder by half an inch that we left, separated the back pieces into two. And guys, I've taken in the back darts. The back darts started again at the bust line, then went about 2 inches before the hip line. So this is what I have. I also used a bias step to finish the back neckline. So that is how it looks like. So this is how the front looks like. And this is the right side. I think you're recognizing my beautiful fashionistas. I've finished the darts 1 inch below the bust line. So you have to determine where your bust line is according to you. It varies from person to person. So now guys, at the wrong side, I'm going to sew or to attach the sleeves. So I think you're seeing where I joined along the shoulder. So I'm going to bring my sleeve and determine which one goes where. Remember, right side facing each other. And I notched the midpoint of the sleeve. So I'm going to join like this where the midpoint is. The midpoint should be at the shoulder joining. And I'll sew by half an inch to connect the sleeve. And then after, I will take in the sides, connecting from the sleeve by 1 inch into the sides for both sides of this dress. And then to finish the hemline, I'll just double fold by half an inch like this all around the hemline, and the dress will be ready, guys. Then I'll just get my zipper. I have this zipper that I want to use. I'll just connect it at the back. I'll determine where the zipper will stop, then connect that other middle piece and leave about 5 inches for the slit so that the person can be able to walk. Remember, this is a pencil dress. It needs a slit. Remember, the fabric that we're using are not stretchy at all. we need a slit at the back. So after all that sewing, this is the finished dress, and I think you found it simple. You can do yours too. This is what I have. That is the slit, and this is the finished zipper at the back. I just need to take the dress to be finished on the inside by, you know, overlocking the seams or serging the seams. So this is how beautiful the dress looks like, and I tried it at the mannequin. So this is how it came about. So you can make your own mix and match dress. You can use any fabrics of your choice. You can use net as the yoke, and your dress will come out so beautifully as you follow the steps or as you change to your choice. So this is how it looks like. This is it at the back. I used a peg, as you see, because the mannequin is smaller compared to the dress. But that is how beautifully everything came about. That is the slit at the bottom. If you have any compliments, any supplements, please go on in the comment section. And remember to subscribe to Yvonne Winifred UG. Share this video, like it, and I'll see you later.